And you're just in time for KBC's lunchtime news. It is exactly 17 minutes past the hour. The Senate has just taken a lunch break. They will be back exactly at 2:30 p.m. The Speaker is expected to make two key rulings on the preliminary objections that have been raised by the senior counsel representing Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. And of course, the lawyers have clearly stated that some new evidence have been tabled by the National Assembly, and they're urging the Senate to expunge that new evidence that has been placed by the National Assembly this morning, because they do not have responses to the new affidavits that have been laid bare before the senators. The other matter is pertaining to the senior counsel, or rather the governor of Siaya County, James Orengo, if he will be allowed to represent the National Assembly. Those are the two preliminary objections that have been raised so far, and of course the senior counsel representing the National Assembly will get a chance to respond to some of these preliminary objections that have been raised, especially to the second one, where they're requesting Ndegwa Njiru there representing the Deputy President. They're requesting to expunge the new evidence that have been recently placed before the House by the National Assembly. They are clearly stating that it will be prejudice to their case, because they do not have the responses to the new affidavits that have been laid before the Senate. Of course, those are the proceedings we're keeping an eye on. Talk to us on our social media platforms at Abdiaziz Hashim 2 and at KBC Channel 1. And of course, let's continue with other stories that are making headline. But let's start off with in connection to the impeachment motion that is currently happening before the Senate, but we take it to the corridors of justice. Now, the three-judge bench of the High Court, led by Justice Eric Ogola, has cautioned appointing a new deputy prior to the conclusion of the case in which a DP is challenging his removal from office in the event he is impeached by the Senate will be unconstitutional. The precaution comes amid concerns raised by the petitioners of a plot to nominate a new DP by the end of this week should Rigathi Gachagua be impeached. Now, the three-judge bench further declined to grant conservatory orders to stop Senate from hearing the impeachment charges against the DP. The judges in their ruling cited separation of powers.
At the moment, we are being called upon to anticipate the outcome of a process yet to be completed. The application at this stage is premature and anticipatory. Should the petitioner not succeed, the petitioner still have an opportunity to approach the court after the process. The applications are not without a remedy. On the issue that has been raised, that as soon as the Senate impeaches the DP, if at all that happens, that the DP immediately ceases holding office and he cannot reclaim office, we take the view that every office holder can only assume office legally and constitutionally. The assumption of office cannot oust the court's jurisdiction. The court has unfettered jurisdiction to check on the constitution of the process at whatever stage. Whether the grant or denial of the conservative order will enhance the constitutional values and objectives in the Bill of Rights, we find that exercising restraint at this stage will enhance and allow independent institutions of government to function unhindered and in their fullness, except in the clearest of cases. It is our view that this is not one such case where intervention is automatic. The issues raised by the parties will require to be interrogated. We therefore find that the enhancement of the constitutional principle of separation of powers will be best served by declining the application at this point. Whether the petition will be rendered nugatory, we find and hold that it will not. The petitions challenging the process of impeachment the petitions are challenging the process of impeachment. The substratum of the petitions will not be lost. The court is still able to grant a remedy even after the process is conducted, even after the process is concluded, and as such, the court will not be acting in vain. On public interest, we find that the public interest tilts in favor of allowing the constitutional process to proceed unhindered. Disposition, therefore, deriving from the foregoing, the following final orders do issue.
The three-judge bench took a break, and of course they are writing a ruling on whether the pleadings in the petitions should be amended, and our court reporter Ruth Wamboi will be updating us on that particular aspect. And also we're getting a hold of our parliamentary reporters to just tell us what has transpired within the Senate for the better part of this morning all the way to the afternoon. But to other stories now, human rights activists in Narok County have called off planned protest after police in the area rearrested 5 suspects linked to recent murder cases that had stirred concerns over public safety. The demonstrations were initially organized in response to a surge in insecurity, especially after the initial release of the suspects due to lack of sufficient evidence. Narok County Police Commander Rico Ngare, however, confirmed that the rearrests were based on new evidence, asserting that the police are committed to securing justice for the victims and restoring public safety.
County Commander na ofisi ya DPP, ODPP wamesema kwamba wamepata more evidence na kwa hivyo wako tayari sasa kushtaki wale suspect na charge ya murder. Hiyo tu ndio kitu sisi tulikuwa tunataka. Tulikuwa tunataka tu tupate justice kwa mtu ambaye aliuliwa bila hatia.
And in other news, residents in Jilore Ward in Malindi, Kilifi County, whose land high voltage electric power transmission lines pass, have appealed to the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company to expedite their compensation. According to the residents, they have waited for over 6 years for compensation from the company, which they claim has prevented them from developing their land and renovating existing structures following evaluation of a company carried out in 2019. The residents are now demanding compensation if they are not relocated, however, adding that the power transmission pose a danger to them. Over 2,000 households have been affected by the transmission line that stretches from Kakuyuni sublocation.
Hao watalipwa. Poloti zimepanda, hata sasa tukulipwa, hatujui tutanunua pesa ngapi.
Wakasema watalipa mwezi wa 9. Nikaenda mkutanoni hapa juu Shomani hapa. Yule mbunge wetu akasema mradi huo umekwa saini tayari na mradi wa uwanja wa ndege. Watu wa uwanja wa ndege wakacheka. Sisi hatujaona chochote. Hatujui ni nani wa kumfuata tumuulize.
Rais mahali ulipo, mbunge wetu mahali ulipo, utuone na ujue ya kwamba kama wanahitaji kutulipa aje watulipe. Bila hivyo, kama ni kujenga, watupe uamuzi tujenge.
Also, at the National Disaster Operations Center, NDOC, based at the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government in collaboration with other stakeholders, will engage the youth in disaster mitigation and management to address current and emerging disasters in the country. Now, speaking during the 10th and National Symposium for the Disaster Risk Reduction in Kilifi County, Peter Murgor, the Disaster Risk Reduction and Cash Manager with the Kenya Red Cross, said that as stakeholders, they have noted that the disasters and corresponding responses have resulted to creating conflicts among communities due to land ownership.
The issues of disaster risk at the younger age, then these mitigation measures, these preparedness measures will live within them even to an older age. And the skills and strategies that can be applied and the information that they can take to the members that are able to reach the information structures can help us minimize disasters in this country.
We've been able to train, and we've also kept our stakeholders together. I'm so happy that UNDP is here. They helped us come up with a very good policy, disaster management policy, and without the policies, you cannot have the partners. And being a UN agency, it was able to pull other agencies. And we were glad to have hosted 4 other countries, Burundi, Cameroon, and Ethiopia.
Now, peace actors from different organizations in the country have urged the county governments of Kericho and Kisumu counties to pass a peace policy to enable them formulate a peace action plan to address conflicts along the Sondu border. In a meeting held in Sondu, the peace ambassadors emphasized their role to ensure conflicts is brought to an end in the region. They reiterated the need to involve women in peacekeeping processes as they have capacity for conflict resolution. Additionally, they called on IBC to speed up the process of marking boundaries at Sondu.
Kericho na pia za Kisumu zihusishe wamama kwa ile si kuhusisha tu mama kukuja. Unasema tulikuwa watu 10 na wamama 5. Muhusishe wale wamama pia wanatoa mawaidha.
So we are asking the NCIC, the NLC and other partners, IBC, to speed up the issue of boundaries in Sondu so that we can have a long-lasting peace.
Hatutaki mambo ya mafarakano. Tunataka kuishi na ndugu zetu kama dada na ndugu. Wa ndugu zetu from Kisumu County and from Kericho County. Let us stay like brothers and sisters.
Well, our focus this afternoon is at the Senate. We want to see how the cases will progress there in terms of the impeachment hearing of the Deputy President, who has clearly stated he is not guilty to the 11 charges that have been leveled against them. We'll be getting a latest update from the corridors of the Augusta House as well as from the Milimani Law Court. This is exactly 29 minutes past the hour. Don't go too far. We still have more for you on the other side of the break.
Most decorated clubs in English football. It is always a big deal with these. And Garnacho! That is off the very high.
Stream all 380 matches for just 500 shillings on Showmax Premier League. Visit showmax.com to get started.
This October, all roads lead to Kwale County as we honor our heroes. Join us for a comprehensive coverage of Mashujaa Day live from Kwale Stadium as we mark the milestones made in the affordable housing projects.
Nasema karibuni sana, muje enjoy, muone yale yote mazuri ambayo yako ndani ya kaunti ya Kwale.
All these will be live on KBC Channel 1 TV, KBC radio stations and all our socials. Heko kwa Mashujaa wetu.
Nadhani umefika muda wa kurudi kwa wazazi wangu na mwanangu Maya. Hapa haya ni maji ya shingo na nimeshindwa kabisa kuyaogelea.
Mimi naweza chapwa na mwanamke mimi huyo basi.
Hata wewe mtu mzima haujui kuchunga mzigo wako. Shauri yako.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, the Media Council of Kenya has urged journalists to exercise caution in their reporting, especially now that there is heightened political temperatures due to the ongoing impeachment case against the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Now, while addressing the media in Meru County, Jackson Karanja of the Media Council urged journalists to adhere to the Code of Conduct and Professional Ethics and refrain from any misinformation.
we are calling on journalists, we are calling on editors, we are calling on station managers to always ensure that the information that is being relayed on the different media platforms is information that has been edited to ensure that it is in line with, one, the code of conduct, and number two, it is information that is actually factual. Verification of information is a very key component to where media is today. So our call on journalists and the media at large is to ensure that the information being relayed is information that has been fact-checked to ensure that it is accurate and reliable.
Residents of Garbatula, Isiolo County have expressed dissatisfaction over the implementation of the 83.7 billion shilling Horn of Africa Gateway Development Project, citing unfair recruitment and compensation plans. The 740-kilometer Isiolo-Modogashe-Mandera Road, according to the residents, will not achieve the intended gains due to political interference and alleged alienation of the local community. Now, the residents who marched to Deputy County Commissioners' offices in Garbatula town, led by Sheikh Ali Harun and Ibrahim Ali Jarso, reiterated their voices were being ignored despite acquisition of their land. They accused a senior national government administrator of micromanaging their recruitment process and not involving the residents in a critical decision-making. A total of 468 complaints were made to the National Land Commission NLC between July and August by the residents.
Wale wanafanya kazi hapa ni 28. Locals wale wako hapa ni watu 5. Na wale crusher na locals ni 40. Locals ni watu 5. Ikiwa ukiangalia hivi, sasa unajua wanasema locals ni 70%. Hakuna 70% ambaye locals wamepata kwa hii project.
A section of Kajiado Central Sub-County residents have received food and non-food items to help them cope with the effects of a drought that have ravaged the semi-arid region. The County Government Emergency Department, in collaboration with a non-governmental organization, provided aid to the affected households to help them turn around their lives. Now, the drought that has killed at least 1 million animals left most families vulnerable. The targeted group received goods, foodstuffs, beddings, as well as motorcycles.
This project is costing us 1,800,000 for these peoples, and we are here to work together with the government of Kajiado.
Najua Kajiado tulikuwa tumepitia hali ngumu sana, na saizi tukipata msaada kama huu inasaidia kwa kubwa kuinua jamii.
Napata kitu wa usaidizi hapa, napata mbuzi, mambo ya duka, wa mapikipiki, wale yote nilipata hapa inaenda kusaidiwa.
Still within the confines of the devolved units, a section of residents in Busia County have been urged to embrace hand washing with soap and clean water to avert diseases. Now, speaking while commemorating World Hand Washing Day in Bundalangi, Busia County, Health Officer Priscilla Juma reminded locals of the need to wash their hands regularly to reduce cases of cholera that have been rampant during flood seasons. Rotary Kenya has started water projects across Busia County for the benefit of schools and community to ensure access to clean water for the residents.
So special when it comes to sanitation and hygiene matters, because you realize that during the flood season, most of our latrines collapse, posing it a challenge in the sanitation and hygiene.
Another focus area is wash in schools. A lot of primary schools and secondary schools, especially in the informal settlements and in areas that are disadvantaged, they have to go without proper sanitation because of lack of water. So this has been one of the areas that our clubs in locations all over the district have been working on.
And now let's get down to business. Now, aged just 25, Abdullah Mahmood is the general manager of a company employing over 150 workers to supply petroleum products to firms in 7 countries, including mining companies in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia. Now, Mahmood, who schooled in Kenya, manages 90 trucks that deliver 3.2 million litres of fuel every month.
This is the parking yard for Kisma, which is a Tanzanian-based company that specializes in delivering petroleum products. The family-owned company is managed by 25-year-old Mahmood. Kisma was started in 2005 by Mahmood's grandfather with just 2 trucks. His grandfather then transferred the company to Mahmood's father, and now Mahmood is in charge. The fleet has gone to 90 trucks. Mahmood's interest in the company affairs began when he was 6 years old. The firm specializes in delivering fuel to farms in 7 countries.
What I believe separates Dalbit and Kisma from the rest of the competition is the reliable service we provide to our customers, the openness to discuss issues at hand, the ability to adjust when issues occur, and the ability to contact the right people at the right time.
Mahmood says the secret to running a successful logistics company is in treating drivers well.
As much as I invested so much into the vehicle and the trailer and a lot of time in engaging the clients, it is the driver's responsibility to move from point A to point B. So we do have to treat the driver with respect. We do have to assist the driver when assistance is needed.
The company is a close-knit family of employees whose recruitment is mainly reliant on referrals.
At the end of the day, we all work as a team, as a family, to ensure that our clients are satisfied, the driver is satisfied, and us as an organization are profitable and satisfied as well.
He says 90% of the company's fleet is dedicated to the Democratic Republic of Congo market, mainly delivering fuel to mining companies.
Primary routes at this current moment is transporting to Lubumbashi. The demand for fuel in Lubumbashi is so high.
Genu's Continental Group subsidiary Dalbit Petroleum, which offers wholesale distribution and storage in East, Central and Southern Africa, has since 2016 been a key client for Kisma. It delivers fuel within Tanzania and exports to countries along the southern corridor.
If you want to work with a transporter, it is a business they are running. They do have costs, and you have to consider that. There are a lot of changes that happen in the market. You need to work with people who are also reliable. You need to work with people who are bankable.
Mahmood's target is to increase the fleet to up to 200 trucks to adequately meet growing demand for petroleum products in the DRC.
At this company, I always believe that anybody can have access to my phone, from my mechanics to my operations team to accounts and any clients.
Mahmood plans to diversify to the liquefied petroleum gas business given its potential.
Now, capital market players have been urged to embrace innovation to remain relevant in the face of evolving global trends. Capital Markets Authority Director for Market Operations, Daniel Warutere, says his approach is critical in deepening liquidity and promoting the maturity of the local market, reducing reliance on foreign investors. This was noted during the relaunch of a Capital A investment bank, formerly known as Securities Africa Kenya Limited. This follows its recent upgrade from a licensed stockbroker to an investment bank sanctioned by the Capital Markets Authority. The bank says its renewed focus will be on innovation and client-centric services aimed at driving growth in Kenya's financial market.
As investment banks, fund managers, custodians, etc., to see how we can collaborate to actually deepen our local domestic market. I think it has been shown that markets around the world, stock markets around the world in particular, or securities markets around the world that are heavily reliant on foreign flows are extremely volatile. Sometimes they go flat for years.
This includes continuously reviewing the regulatory frameworks that we have, especially to encourage innovation, supporting introduction of new products, and most importantly, ensure investor protection. And that's a metric that as a regulator, we have to be judged on that. We acknowledge that there's a lot more that we can do within our markets, and we keep encouraging our intermediaries to be innovative.
It is our desire to have a new look and feel, with offering the same quality, even better. This has led us to discover our new purpose in this capital market space. Our philosophy going forward is to invest in you and not for you.
Now, before going to our interview portion this afternoon, Kenya's exports to the East African community have increased from 226.4 billion shillings in 2022 to 305.8 billion shillings, underlining the import role played by the trading bloc. This emerged during the ministerial performance validation exercise by the Deputy Chief of Staff in the Executive Office of the President for Performance and Delivery Management, that is Eliodowalo, at the Ministry of East African Community, Arid and Semi-Arid Lands and Regional Development.
Ministerial performance validation exercise by Deputy Chief of Staff in the Executive Office of the President for Performance and Delivery Management, Eliodowalo, has been conducting ministerial performance validation exercises. The latest is the Ministry of East African Community, Arid and Semi-Arid Lands and Regional Development, where the important role of the East African community market was highlighted.
We have increased in the value of Kenyan exports. Kenya's export to the East Africa grew from 226.4 billion in 2022 to 305.8 billion shillings in 2023. This is attributed to the elimination of non-tariff barriers, which enabled a number of Kenyan products to access the EAC market.
The purpose of the exercise is to hold various ministries accountable and keep track of their progress, bottlenecks and achievements as they work to serve the people of Kenya.
We now need to get into a performance contracting framework with the ministry to enable the ministry commit itself beforehand to certain deliverables, both quantitatively and qualitatively, at the end of the activity period, that is as at 30th June 2025.
The ministerial meetings are part of his mandate in overseeing performance contracting as well as overseeing the implementation of the government's projects.
Now, elsewhere, a section of sugarcane farmers in Western Kenya have raised concerns about sugarcane poaching that they want urgently addressed. Now, speaking during a stakeholders forum in Kakamega County, the farmers accused some sugar milling companies of fueling the vice and want the Agriculture and Food Authority, that is AFA, to take decisive action. The farmers have also challenged millers to develop self-regulation mechanisms to address the issue.
The law making is in process, and I'm sure once we have it, we should be able to at least have some teeth. You've heard, of course, the head of security saying that they also have challenges prosecuting these cases because they don't have proper law that would support this kind of cases.
Now it is about 20 months or over. The nuclear still has its raw material standing. By the time they close all these factories, it is not only Busia which will suffer.
Ifanye impromptu visits kwa hizo way bridges, mwenye atapatikana ame harvest yanke kwa way bridge yake. Mimi naomba hatua ya kinidamu ichukuliwe, ranging from suspension of the crushing with up to 1 month.
Now, on our interview segment this afternoon on Business Docket, we're focusing on the SME sector. And of course, we want to get the perspective of an investor. And of course, this afternoon joining us is Jason Ketman, who is an investor and a director of Bizin, which is a financial platform for small businesses. And of course, to discuss what are the challenges and what are the benefits they might have seen within the SME sector within our country. Jason, good afternoon, and thank you for making time for us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Jason, we start off from that perspective. You are an investor. You have come into the country. When did you come into the country, first of all? And tell us, what did you make of Kenya's SME sector?
Yeah, so I didn't come here focused on the SME sector. Rather, I came here in January of 21. Beautiful country, amazing people, really loved it here. And as I was recognizing that I would be spending more time here, I wanted to do what I could to hopefully contribute to some of the amazing things that are going on here. And so in talking about the SME space, it's estimated that 97% of these businesses are running completely manually, notebooks, pen and paper, things like that. But that creates a lot of management challenges. And so, for example, with BIZN providing financial systems, this makes them more formalized in a capacity that the banks would accept their records, and allowing access to capital to be easier. And then when talking about Jungo Farm, they're focused on providing business systems to pharmacies, but even large hospitals as well, in streamlining their procurement process with the suppliers that they work with.
And of course, you've just clearly stated, because when SMEs, people who are in that particular sector, when they see investors, people normally think they just want money to finance some of their businesses. But aside from that, will there be a training or any technical expertise that investors can offer these SMEs so that they can do what you're clearly stating, to keep records of their financial statements?
Yes. So every organization that chooses to do business with either Jungo Farm or BIZN gets free training so that they can be accustomed to it. But both platforms were designed with the intent that they would be as easy to use as possible. They've gone through many, many iterations of feedback from the customer saying, actually, I would like it to look like this, or I'd like the workflow to work this way. So much so that within BIZN, they use plain English. And so I think that finances and accounting can be a little bit complicated if you're talking about debits and credits and things like that. Instead, they've simplified it to say, okay, this is income and expenses. And if you had any questions about why you would input income and expenses, there's something on every single page called page hints, which is a question mark you can hover over, and then they say, oh, well, you want to put this in so that we can tell you how much free cash you have, what the profitability was. We can create statements that organizations might want to be interested in, such as cash flow statements and balance sheets and things like that. So certainly training has been an important element in helping these SMEs with adaption. At the same time, they're really built to try and be as simple as possible so that anybody, even without any technical experience or acumen, should be able to use them.
Maybe in your final remarks, we have seen so many SMEs short-lived. They do not even reach 5 years of what they had envisioned. So what advice can you give them, given that they are watching you right now?
Sure. So I think a lot of those challenges are often driven by a lack of transparency within the business, right? And so to understand, how profitable are we? How much are our daily sales? What do we need to be doing to cover our standard expenses, and how can we be more efficient? And so I would argue that technology enablement like this should help reduce that failure rate of these SMEs that are doing everything that they can to try and provide a valuable product or service, and really give them that leg up that will allow them to survive.
Thank you so much. I'm sure it was short, but at least we have gotten the meat of what the conversation was going on. Of course, that was Jason Ketman, who is an investor as well as a director of BIZN, which is a financial platform for small businesses. Thank you so much for coming in this afternoon. And of course, we want to dive into the world of sports on what we have prepared for you on the fields. And of course, we're also keeping an eye on Parliament precincts. Any moment from now, as we're being told at 2:30 exactly, the senators will be coming back to discuss the impeachment hearing of none other than Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. But now to the playing fields, where the national boxing team hit squad left the country today to take part in the Africa Boxing Championship that is currently underway in Kinshasa, DRC. The Kenya contingent comprises of 12 boxers, 9 men and 3 women, and 3 officials as well. Some of the boxers included in the men's squad are Silas Onyango, minimum weight Benyengo Kaichalo, flyweight Shafi Bakari, as well as a featherweight Alois Vincent, light featherweight, and Captain Boniface Mugunde, a light middleweight in the women's category. The team includes Faith Nafuna, flyweight Amina Martha, as well as Elizabeth and Diego. And of course, those are the men and women who have departed, left the country to go and attend that particular feat. And of course, we'll duly inform you as and when we get more details. Now to other stories making headlines in the world of sports. Senegal, DR Congo, Angola and Egypt are the latest teams to qualify for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, joining host Morocco, Algeria, Cameroon and Burkina Faso, who already booked their place in the African Peace. Now, meanwhile, Sudan beat Ghana 2-0 in the African Cup of Nations qualifiers after Ahmed Al-Tash and Mohamed both scored for the Falcons of Junedin, placing them second in Group F with 7 points. Group G leaders Ivory Coast lost 1-0 to Sierra Leone after a late goal winner by Amadou Bakayoko. In other matches, Congo defeated Tanzania 2-0 in Group H and Malawi lost 1-0 to Senegal in Group L. Now, the football fraternity is mourning, and here's why. Kenya football legend who starred for the mighty Gor Mahia and Harambee Stars, Austin Makamu Oduor, is dead. Now, according to family sources, Oduor collapsed and died at his home in Mumias. The former defender is famed for captaining Gor Mahia in their heroic 1987 season and guiding the team to win the African Cup Winners' Cup, better known as the Mandela Cup.
Oduor's football journey began in 1976 with Umeme FC before joining Gor Mahia in 1980. He went on to become one of the Kenya's greatest defenders, leading Gor Mahia and Harambee Stars to remarkable successes, which include his heroic display during the 4th All-African Games held in Nairobi, where he committed the final penalty against Malawi to take Harambee Stars to the finals in 1987. He captained the mighty Gor Mahia to the historic unforgettable 1987 win at Kasarani Stadium when they became the first Kenyan club to win the African Cup Winners. The father of the former Harambee Stars goalkeeper Arnold Origi and uncle to the former Liverpool and AC Milan striker Divock Origi has been traversing the country to uplift the welfare of former footballers with his 4 teammates, who include among others Toby Ochola, Joe Akali, Bobby Ogola and Peter Dawo. Former ICT Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo, who was with the late Drought over the weekend, eulogized him as a friend and a role model who impacted the growth of football to inspire future generations.
Now, the Football Kenya Federation has taken a significant step towards empowering women in football by facilitating an all-female CAF C coaching course at the Kenya Institute of Special Education. The course, which kicked off on Monday, will run until Friday, bringing together 30 female coaches from across the country. The initiative is part of a broader Football Kenya Federation strategy aimed at increasing the number of female coaches in Kenya and closing the gender gap in football coaching. Now, the course is led by 2 highly accomplished CAF instructors, Coach Jacqueline Juma, who recently made history as the first female head coach of the FKF Premier League within FC Talanta, and Bildine Odemba, who also made headlines by guiding Kenya Police Bullets to an unbeaten season where they clinched the maiden FKF Women's Premier League title. Now, Tanzanian Ibrahim Amos was crowned the overall winner of the 3rd Mr. and Miss East Africa Bodybuilding Championship, which was held here in the capital. Now, Ibrahim, who finished 2nd last year, beat his countryman and the defending champion Eric Majura in the final. Kenyan Mabaki Kizito finished 3rd. Karen Mulyanga from Kenya won the ladies wellness category, while Martha Alex of Tanzania won the bikini category. The championship brought together over 300 bodybuilders from Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. And now that concludes our bulletin this afternoon. And of course, don't go too far. At exactly 2:30 p.m., the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation will be bringing to you live the Senate proceedings that will kick on. As I told you earlier on when we started this particular bulletin, the Speaker is expected to make two key rulings on preliminary objections that were made by the senior counsel representing the Deputy President on a new evidence that has been tabled on whether it should continue or not. And the other one is Siaya Governor James Orengo, if he should continue representing the National Assembly. And of course, in just a few minutes or so, you'll be getting those live proceedings all the way from Senate. And do join us in our subsequent bulletins at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. My name is Abdiaziz, and the sign language interpreter at this afternoon is Lensa Odingo. Good afternoon for now.